Hi everybody, it's Angela Wilder with Conversations with Angela Wilder. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Lynn Felder. She's going to rock your world. Lynn, thanks for being here.
I'm happy to be here, Angela. Always good to see you.
Thank you, thank you. So I know Winston-Salem is your home now, but are you from Winston-Salem?
I'm from South Carolina. I've lived in the Carolinas all my life except for a couple of years in Oregon, which was very different. But I came to Winston-Salem from Hilton Head Island. I was the features editor there at a small newspaper. It's a great little newspaper, really. But I wanted to come to a place where there were institutions of higher education and that was just a little more regular than living in a resort town. And I've just loved Winston-Salem and love North Carolina. North Carolina is definitely my home.
Wow, so you love Winston-Salem. What about Winston-Salem do you love?
Well, it's small enough. It's small enough that you can make a difference, but it's large enough that it has all the things, except a dance club. I want a dance club, so if somebody will open a dance club, I'll be there.
Well, maybe you will have to open the dance club.
Not me. My entrepreneurial days are behind me.
Well, your entrepreneurial days may be behind you, but I know you, one of the ways that I know you is as a yoga instructor.
Right.
But your future, I understand, is pointing in the direction of Zumba.
That's right.
So tell me all about your foray into Zumba.
Well, let me start with yoga, which I've done for 50 years and still do at some level and still teach in certain circumstances. I have some new meditation students, which is really nice for me because it's so much. The great thing about yoga and meditation is how quickly you can see the stress drop off of people. It's just wonderful to be able to facilitate that. It's such an honor. But I got to a point where I couldn't do regular asana yoga anymore because of an elbow issue. But broken down athletes.
So you adapt.
So I adapted, and I took a Zumba class at the Y, and I thought, that's kind of fun. And then I took another one, and I thought, that's really fun. And I just love the women. There's all kinds of people there, all ages, all races, all walks of life, and we just dance together and have a great time.
Well, dancing is such a communal, culturally and historically, all people dance.
All people dance.
Yes.
All people dance. I think it was the first dance form. I don't know, maybe singing was, but but then dance is, and if you have dance in your body, any music will make you want to move.
Well, I think we all have dance in our bodies. Yeah. I think we all have the ability to sing. We may not sound like, we may not sound like Pavarotti or Beyonce, right, or any number of great singers, but we all can open our mouths and something will come out.
Yes.
Yeah. And how do you use yoga? Well, you talked about yoga and meditation helping people get rid of stress or to release stress. I don't know if we ever get rid of it. And then the Zumba, how do all of these work together to create community?
Well, a Zumba class is a party. And it does, as I said, it's just full of all different kinds of people. And, people hang out and have coffee afterwards. I know one of the classes that I go to, some of them go for a long walk on Sundays. And you just see people meet. I've met people that I would not meet anywhere else in a Zumba class.
Mm-hmm. When I listen to you, I hear this, what feels like you're drawn to community and contribution. And I know that another thing that you've done recently is you've written a play.
I wrote a play.
So tell me about your play.
Well, My job was eliminated at the Journal about a year ago. It was September 2020. And I immediately joined a class called Creative Catalyst that the Keenan Institute at UNCSA does. And I met a young man named Solomon Caldwell, my friend Solomon, who had graduated from UNCSA in 2019, and because of the COVID, he had kind of a gap year before he was on to the New England Conservatory of Music. Bless his heart. We miss him so much. I get to see him at Thanksgiving.
Oh, well,
but Solomon and I met in this class, and we just were both interested in the same thing, which was conversation. And we were sort of charged, the whole group was charged with doing some kind of creative project, and everybody had their little things that they were going. And Solomon and I decided to collaborate. He's an improvisational bass player, and I'm a writer, and I had been in a lot of theater as an actor and as a dancer, but never behind the scenes as either a director or a playwright. But I have always thought that theater is the most potent way to get an idea across. Movies are larger than life, TV is smaller than life, but live theater is life-size, and there are live people on the stage having an experience that you can really relate to and that really, really can hit home.
Yes.
So I was excited about writing a play, and Solomon and I met, and we just talked about stuff, and at some point he said, because we were talking about why can't people on the right and the left have a conversation without getting mad and you know, walking away in a huff.
Right.
And so he said, yeah, I don't understand it. He said, because I probably have more in common with some white boy from Rural Hall than I do with you. He said it nicer than that. He didn't say, he didn't say me, but, but he, and I went, wow, that's the story. So we get these two guys together, and we let them have a conversation on the stage. And of course, you can't have a conversation, argument, debate, fight without having opposition.
Let me clarify one thing. For those who don't know, when you said we got these two guys, you wrote these characters.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Because I thought, well, wonder where she got those guys that came out of your mind.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
It's total fiction, but I did interview people on both sides of the aisle to get the dialogue. So the dialogue, by and large, is taken from conversations that I had with all these people.
Yes.
And so we, and so it was great because everywhere we went and told the story of what we wanted to write about, people said, yeah, you know, I want to be part of that. So it just sort of built into this thing where by June the 10th, we had a show on stage at Reynolds Place in the Milton Road Center.
Okay.
It sort of took over my life.
All right. And how was the experience of seeing something that starts out as an idea come to fruition? How was that experience for you?
Well, it was terrifying and fabulous all at the same time, because it happened so fast. And usually when I'm writing something, especially something that takes, you know, you might think would take a long time, it takes a long time. And this just was there.
Was it it sounds like a stream of consciousness sort of experience.
It was. It's one thing just built on another thing, on another thing, on another thing. It was an exercise in creativity that I've never experienced before.
And the complete title of the play is?
Our Time, A Conversation in Black and White.
Okay. And black and white is meant to mean black and white. You're dressed in all black and white as in the people. What exactly did you mean by in black and white?
Well, it sort of represents black and white thinking. you know, not a lot of subtlety in there. This is this side and this side.
Absolutes. Sort of
Kind of absolutes. And so the characters in the play are a Black Lives Matter marcher after a Black Lives Matter march, and a marcher at the Sons of the Confederacy rally. And I just put them artificially on the same day so that I can get these guys together. They meet on the street, they're waiting for their ride, and then there's a hippie who facilitates the conversation, who makes them have a conversation with each other.
And was that hippie drawn from anybody that you know personally?
Well, I have to take responsibility for the hippie. So the hippie definitely is I would say my best self, because she was pretty rational and pretty passionate, and she has the perspective of age, and she's seen a lot. She marched against the Vietnam War. She had witnessed the civil rights movement in the 60s, but lived in an isolated southern town where you didn't participate or even know very much about what was going on. So, okay, I'll take the hippie.
I was thinking, boy, that sounds like Lynn's story, her background. And I feel, you can tell me whether I'm going in the right direction or not, that this hippie is also an activist on some level and a catalyst to further this conversation between these two.
Right, definitely, yeah. And she's been at the Black Lives Matter rally, marching with the protesters.
Now, if she's been to that rally with the Black Lives Matter protesters, how did you have her be, I'm assuming, an impartial person between these two characters, or is she?
I think she's partial, but she tries to direct the conversation in a rational way. So she's not being impartial, but she, you know, she's not letting anybody get away with anything. She really wants them to talk. She really wants them to talk, and she speaks when something needs to be clarified or needs to be sort of sorted out.
Right, so she's a guide.
Yeah, she's more of a guide.
And that also brings up, for me, some of the traditions in Native American culture in terms of guides and spirit guides. And tell us about that aspect of the play as well, because I do sneak peek, you know, I know a little bit about what happened in the play. So how did that become part of that conversation?
I love that. I really hadn't thought about her being a guide as being kind of a spirit guide, but I can see that now. So that's really cool. But we, when some publicity about the play went out, a woman named Charlene Hunt, who is a member of the Lumbee tribe, who is here in Winston-Salem. She works at the Maya Angelou Center at Wake Forest. I had seen her give a land acknowledgement, and this is becoming a thing where when people have gatherings in North Carolina or anywhere, they take a moment to acknowledge the people who came before us, the Native Americans. And so she sent me, we didn't know each other, but I had seen her do this, and I had been thinking I really need to get somebody to do a land acknowledgement at the beginning of our time, because we're all gathered here and we're trying to show diversity and equity and inclusion in every area that we possibly can. And so she saw the PR and saw that it's a conversation in black and white. And she messaged me on Facebook and said, where are the red people? Where are the brown people? And I got back to her and I said, you're absolutely right. In this case, it is a conversation in black and white, but I want to get as many voices as I can. So would you do a land acknowledgement for me?
Yes.
And so we did a land acknowledgement at the beginning. That was just lovely.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on negativity and negative energy because I think one of the reasons we have conversations is so that we don't have to go into that space. I don't think, I think every conversation can be constructive, even when we don't agree.
Absolutely.
That we can be constructive. But I do want to know, as an artist and as someone who, after I read the play, that I felt like you were coming from a point of wanting to make a contribution to the people of Winston-Salem. Just as an artist, how do you deal with, blowback and people's upset with your work?
How do I deal with it?
Meditation, yoga.
Right. Well, acknowledgement. I mean, I'm grateful for any attention. I'm grateful for any criticism, really. And what I came to understand from the objections that I got to the play, which came mainly from people who hadn't seen it and who put their interpretation on it based on the publicity. But what I've kind of figured out for myself is that, and actually one person told me that, why are you giving space to the oppressor? Why are you giving space to this other voice? And the theatrical answer to that is you can't have a drama without conflict. And I set this up to be a conflict. And so you've got the protagonist, who is the BLM guy. You've got the antagonist, who is the Sons of the Confederacy guy. And the foe is vanquished in that space. So the antagonist gets taken down in the space. You can't vanquish the foe if he's not in the room.
Okay.
So that's kind of my answer to that.
And I think of a quote that I love that says, "Pain that isn't transformed gets transferred." And so until we acknowledge everybody's pain, whether we agree with it or not, or think that it's valid, it still deserves to be aired and heard. So kudos to you for your effort. And I'm inspired by the idea that you are retired from one job and into something new and still creating. Talk about creating in later life.
Well, you have, and everybody, I think aging is really, really interesting. I really do. And everybody ages differently. And I wouldn't presume to tell anybody else how to do that.
No, but you can share how you're doing
Yeah,
it.
I can't, but everybody's body is different. Everybody's mentality is different. Everybody's interests are different. For me, I'm not a grandmother. So
I'm not either. Thank goodness.
So I have time, and I like being around creative people. I've really, in a lot of ways, I've kind of studied creativity all my life. I was an actor and a dancer before I was a journalist, and as a journalist, I was always meeting creative people. And then the last 6 years as a journalist, I was the arts reporter for the Winston-Salem Journal. So that was like a crash course in creativity because I got to interview all these amazing people. And Leo Rucker, Karen Cottrell, just loads of people, and School of the Arts kids and School of the Arts professors and people in the departments, the arts departments at WSSU, Diggs Gallery, just all over town. I got I got access to all these people. And so I got to see how creatives work, how they live, how they survive. And so when I got released from, from the harness and got to roam around the pasture a little bit, I started looking for projects. So in later life, you have more time, you have the perspective of seeing kind of a bigger picture. And I'm I'm a nicer person. I'm a nicer person than I was when I was 30 because I'm not quite as on edge.
Okay.
You know, I no longer really have anything to prove. And so everything that I do is for me.
Yes.
In a way. I don't do anything. I ask myself two questions. I probably can't remember the second one, but before, before I accept an invitation to do anything, or before I embark on anything, I ask myself, will this give me more life? And will this deepen my connection with the community? And will this contribute something to the community that I live in?
Wow.
Because you're right, you said at the beginning that community is a huge thing for me, and I don't even know how to describe it, really.
I think community is something you you recognize it when you feel it. For me, that is what I have. Lots of communities and lots of things I would call community. I don't see it as one single thing. Yeah. And I'm curious to know, though, as you age and in your creativity, have you experienced ageism?
Oh, golly. I don't know how to answer that. When we did the play, it was so cool because Solomon was young and had the connections with the School of the Arts. It's about half of the team was from the School of the Arts. The production team was almost all from the School of the Arts. And then the director, Sharon Andrews, is from Wake Forest. And Elizabeth Reef, who was the stage manager, has just done community theater all over town. So we had some, it was interesting, the communication that went on, and I learned a lot about how young people communicate these days. I learned a lot from that experience. I haven't experienced ageism yet. But then I kind of, I also kind of don't register all of the negativity that comes at me. I don't think, it just, I'm kind of a little bit of like, okay, where do? I look for the people whose eyes light up when they see me coming. And if they don't, I just go do something else.
Yes, yes.
There's lots to do.
I think it's kind of like having a sieve, and it's how tightly woven are the wires in it. It sounds like yours is not as tightly woven now, so you allow the negativity or the ageism or whatever it is to just float on through. Don't have time to catch it in my...
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And tell me about radical optimism.
Radical optimism. I made that up.
Yeah, okay. Well, then you're the expert.
And it's because I kept hearing people try to solve problems using the same old techniques that weren't working. So I think that it's like that's why I wanted to use my art for anti-racism and social justice, because I think just talking about it, arguing about it, fussing about it, nothing is happening, nothing is changing. But I think that there may be artistic ways, because it's because of the experience that I described of being in live theater, that it's very impactful.
Yeah, well, there's an energy around.
Very impactful.
Yes.
And so I think that entertainment and it's more like not even entertainment. It's more like so our time was a drama, but it's full of humor, and it kind of insults everybody at some point in the play. You know, there's some jab at liberals, there's some jab at women, at everybody. There's something to make everybody mad, but it's also funny.
Yeah,
you know?
which is part of, I think, being an artist and a creative is taking the chance to say something that might tick off somebody, but that same opportunity might give that person a chance to laugh at themselves. So, you know, go both ways.
Yeah.
So, but circling back to optimism, is optimism a mindset, or you talked about techniques, people using the same old techniques to solve problems.
Right.
Is optimism a mindset, or is it something actually operational? I
think it's operational because as I develop this thing, the first principle is that there are societal problems and ills that we can solve, that we haven't solved yet, but we have to find new ways to do it. And the second principle is we have the ability and we have the heart, some people do, to try to do that. And so we just, we can't, I'm trying to remember what it was that got me started on this, because they were talking about, I know what it was, there was a few days on the news cycle where everybody was talking about women being more educated and having better jobs, and men are just not working anymore. They're just stopping working. And my response, everybody's response was, oh, this is terrible. Oh, the men aren't working. Oh, how awful. And my response was, well, why can't they just be different kinds of men?
Yes.
You know, learn to be different kinds of men. Learn to do childcare. Learn to make themselves useful around the house. Plenty of men do that now.
Yes.
I mean, but to me, that was the answer. If they don't want to work, let them do something creative or something useful. Find another way to be useful besides just work, 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 work.
Yes.
I don't want somebody to make me work, 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 work. And the whole point of feminism was to liberate everybody, right? Women and men and everything in between.
I gather you would characterize yourself as a feminist.
Oh, yes, please.
And give me 3 other things that you would call yourself.
Call myself? Oh, my God. Well, vulnerable, optimistic, a feminist, spiritual. I can go on all day.
Oh, give me a couple more.
Artistic, hopeful.
I guess when you have a big heart, in this world you have to have optimism to keep going day after day after day. So what do you feel optimistic about in Winston-Salem?
Oh, in Winston-Salem. Well, certainly it's growth. I'm optimistic because even though it's kind of a wavy gravy concept, people keep coming back to innovation, which goes along with my idea that we can find solutions.
Yes.
And those solutions are in innovation. So I feel optimistic about Winston-Salem's ability to innovate, because look what we've done already. Look what they've done already is we've gone from a tobacco economy to a healthcare economy, certainly, and to continuing to emphasize the artistic. I see more of it took a number of years for UNC School of the Arts to reach kind of what I would call critical mass, because we did a story, Ken Koifel did a story for the Journal about 20 years ago about how the graduates of the School of the Arts, there were only like about 5 that you could name who were out there doing things.
Well, that's not true now, boy.
And now it's like every time, you open up the paper, every time you turn on the TV. I just watched The Harder They Come with Jonathan Majors, who came from UNCSA. you know, everywhere you look.
It's
Nia
really
Franklin,
on the map.
yeah.
So
Tashina Vaughn, opera singer.
for you, you would really say Winston-Salem is the city of arts and innovation.
I would,
yeah.
I would assert
Yeah.
that.
So we're about to wrap up, but I just need you to give me a definition of what is wavy gravy.
Wavy gravy. Well, you know, it's hippie stuff. You know, it's kind of like, it's pie in the sky.
Okay.
Pie in the sky,
All right.
I guess.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to add wavy gravy to my new. That's going to be my new vocabulary word, and also gratitude. Thank you so much. I am so grateful that you took time to spend some time with me and all of the people who watch us. And
thank you. It's been so much fun. You're just a joy.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for joining us for this conversation. Come back next week. We'll have another conversation with another fabulous person from right here in Winston-Salem. I'm Angela Wilder. We'll see you then.